Mr. Walton, did you make contact with aliens? Were you taken to another planet, to a mothership? How did they communicate with... Can you tell me what they look like? Can you tell me how many of them there were? Were you given food?
But the teachers are alive. They're not books. They are the very living essences of nature itself.
What a strange person.
Unbelievably powerful supercomputer that's running our reality, and we don't have a clue as to how to operate it.
So when maybe you or somebody else creates an AGI system and you get to ask her one question, what would that question be?
What's outside the simulation?
Say in your mind, say to yourself, I am more than my physical body, because I am more than physical matter. I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world.
Do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. Do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I'm the void one.
Welcome to Lighting the Void.
Broadcasting from New York, upstate near the Great Lakes, it's Lighting the Void, and I'm your host, Joe Rupin. We're live on the Fringe FM KTLK Digital Broadcasting. It's Wednesday night, December the 2nd. So much closer to 2021, and speaking of 2021, we're going to dive right into the astrology tonight with our guest, Jeff Harman's here with us. The website for reference tonight is Jeff Harman, HARMAN.com. A frequent guest, astrologer, and a friend of mine that comes on the broadcast every now and then to tell us what's going down when it comes to these energies, and we talk a little esoteric stuff too. So I want to thank the new patrons for signing up too. Yesterday, it seems like the past 3 days we've had new patrons sign up. I mean, you guys have no idea how much that helps. Thank you so much. It helps keep the broadcast on the air. And if you want to support the show, you can go to lightingthevoid.com, click on the Patreon banner, or go to patreon.com/lightingthevoid. Get you an altar box, grab some swag, make a one-time donation, or sign up to become an elite, and pick a package. That's how you support the show. The call-in number for tonight, when we open the phone lines up, keep it handy, put it in your pockets, 1-800-588-0335. That's how you can call in when we open the phone lines up. But I want to kind of dive right into this, too. I got the archives up on the podcast, except for Navier's show, and then we're still getting the new Patreon content up, too, so you have to bear with us. We're always doing a whole bunch of stuff at once. You guys, I'm sure you're used to that now. But, you know, I've learned astrology from a lot of people, too, but the biggest people I've learned astrology from is Jeff and Mary, right? I mean, I take my own classes and read my own books, and we all do that stuff, but I've learned quite a bit from Jeff. And he's been here since the beginning of Lighting the Void, and was one of the very first people that I had on the broadcast when we first started, and we're 600-something shows in now, so that's saying something. But just in case you've never heard of Jeff, he's a second-generation astrologer, and he's always available for your personal and business needs. He's got 45 years of experience. He's a master of classical, Vedic, and Kabbalistic astrology. He also draws from many other traditions of spiritual knowledge, of clearing people and property of unwanted energies, and he's a consultant for paranormal investigations. He also specializes in electional astrology, the art of selecting auspicious times to sign contracts release products, travel and schedule weddings, surgery, and other important events. And he's kind of a big guy in the entertainment industry too. And he's always got some project going. That's why I like him, because he's good with the gadgets. Based out of LA, he's available worldwide by phone and internet conferencing. Again, that's jeffharman.com. Jeff, thanks for coming on the broadcast again. It's good to have you.
Hey, Joe, good to have you too, man. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, Joe, what do you know?
Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
That's right.
So is the world coming to an end or what? Is it coming to an end?
It's going to feel like it, doesn't it? It kind of feels
does.
like it, don't it?
Yeah, it feels like
the world's not going to end. There's too many folks out there burning off karma to let the world end. Yeah.
Well, I know the last time I talked to you about the COVID thing, you were like, you were predicting the times when this stuff was going to happen, and you predicted like that they were going to have a big scare again, but then that was going to go away. It didn't really talk about how it would go away, but like I got a feeling it's going to go away by the old vaccination thing. I don't know. What are you thinking?
Well, I mean, I don't want to sound conspiratorial, but I think that the COVID thing has been far blown out of proportion from where it is. And I'm only saying this from medical professionals that I have as clients that are telling me, yeah, COVID exists, it's real, but it's nowhere near the numbers that they're telling us on the mind control news. And yes, people have passed away from it, and that's horrible. But I think the therapeutics, as well as this whole mass thing, seems to be not as real as they like to make it out to be. And the therapeutics are, but the mask, I had one person she's an expert in infectious diseases. I mean, that's what she does. She's brought around to different hospitals, and I'm not going to mention her name for sure, but she said the disease, and this has been mentioned by many other people, like on X22 and so on and so forth, that the disease is less than 2 microns. Well, or somewhere about there. I don't know the exacts. So if anyone thinks they're wearing a mask and going to stop this, if you're really going to get COVID, you're not. I was just talking to a client in Europe, and he was telling me that in France, I don't know if it's still in play, but you couldn't leave your house but 1 hour a day, and you could only go 500 meters from the house. I mean, you might as well just put a dog leash on. I mean, it's insane. This has been used, I think, to great benefit from the new one world orderers, is my opinion.
Yeah, well, I would have to agree with you. There's a lot of agendas going on now, and it's like, I mean, I've talked to my father about this stuff all the time. He's pretty liberal, so I mean, he thinks that the COVID, like, I don't doubt that there's a virus out there, and that's what they
there's a virus. Yeah,
that's what they kind of like pin on the conspiracy people, and they're like, well, you guys think it's all a hoax, and that's like, whoa, no one said it's all a hoax. A lot,
I don't
we
think
actually know it's a virus, but it's a virus based on a series of viruses that have already been out. It doesn't mean it's not man-made. It probably is man-made, but it's still a virus. It still kills people that have immune deficiencies. It's like the reality of this is, I think, and I talk to like people in the medical field too, is it's a hardcore cold virus. That's it. It's a hardcore cold virus that they have no idea how to get control of it yet. But here's the thing. You can't control the common cold either. You can't really vaccinate it. They do that with
and there's no flu anymore. There's only COVID,
Right.
and doctors who are actually being pressured to write down COVID deaths are getting knocked off Twitter and Facebook. I've heard so many stories that, hey, we get $38,000 if we say someone died of COVID on a ventilator, and we get $18,000 if they just die of COVID. Whereas if we write down, oh, they died in a car accident, we don't get the bill as much. So I'm not saying COVID isn't real either, but there certainly seems to be some motivation financially behind this situation that is very questionable. And I really think the COVID thing is going to go bye-bye by this spring. I think it really lessened last May, even though the numbers have appeared to go up. again, I don't want to spend all the time on COVID because there's a lot more to talk about. But,
Sure.
I think COVID's going to go bye-bye. I really do. I think it's going to get put under control. And by spring, I don't think we're going to hear about it that much. And again, they're coming out with vaccines, which nobody wants to take, but a lot of people are taking. And there's all kinds of fear around that, and probably for good reason. But the therapeutics, most of the people don't even want to talk about them in the medical profession. And yet doctors are running around, really credible doctors, saying, hey, this stuff works. It works very, very well. And yet nobody wants to address it in the mainstream mind control media. And they don't.
Yeah, I mean, we've had doctors come on the show that when this went down was talking about, here's all you have to do to not get a cold is, not get this COVID thing, is take care of your immune system. And they had some really cool ways, some alternative health stuff too, to tell you how to do it.
Yeah.
It's not that hard, man. Like there's a lot of stuff out there where you can take care, and just taking care of yourself, getting proper rest, staying hydrated, like keeping your immune system up will knock out most of the crap in the world anyways, so,
Sure.
Yeah. So what are the charts telling us?
You got to listen to George Carlin on germs. That was the best, very best. If anybody wants to Google.
What did he say?
Oh, God. I can't say it on air. It was George Carlin, but it was the best, man. He talks about how to build the immune system. He says, we used to go swim in crap in the river. That was building your immune system.
That's right.
It's fun. Yeah. I go by George Carlin's office all the time in Brentwood. So it used to be on San Vicente. And I think about the political and the global situation right now. And I always look up at his office. Of course, there's probably somebody else renting it now. And I always go, George, we need you. We need you back. Could you imagine what George Carlin would be saying right now in this political landscape and in this insane climate of the world? Oh, my God, he'd be going off.
Yeah, it'd be hilarious for sure.
Oh,
but
amazing.
So I know in a traditional astrology, we just went through a pretty big transit, with the moon, and we got this Jupiter, is catching up to Saturn and about to pass it.
Yeah.
Like that's the big thing to me. I think that feels good to me, but at the same time, I mean, do we still got some crazy stuff we're going to be going through or what?
Well, let me lay out. I've actually been working on a couple of newsletters. I released a newsletter about a month ago, and I've got another one that I'm about to release. And newsletters take me a lot of time, and I'm so darn busy doing stuff for clients and different things that I don't have the time I'd like to spend on the newsletters. And one of the things, there is a lot going on right now. This is, again, I've been talking about this for 10 years on your show for a long time. But I remember George Norrie had me on years ago. Jeff, what do you think of the Mayan calendar? I said, not a thing. Can't come up with anything for the Mayan calendar. Remember that? I don't know if you remember. Back in 2012, people were buying holes in the ground and ammunition and, getting ready for little green men on the White House lawn. Nibiru was going to tip the axis. Everything was going to hell in a handbasket. Ever happened. And that's what I said. I said, I can't come up with anything. 2020, I've been talking about for probably 15 years. Why? We had the Saturn Pluto conjunction precisely when the whole COVID thing broke out. And granted, we had also something known as a Kala Sarpa Yoga, which for anybody who's not familiar, that is all the planets are in between the north and south node, which are also respectively known as Rahu and Ketu. And more importantly, they happened in two lunar mansions, Aslacia and what was it? I think it was Revati. It was Aslacia. What was the really nasty one? And I'd have to go back and actually be right on that. But nasty. I mean, nasty on the. That was Ardra. That's right. It was Ardra. Anytime you get it mixed up in there, I often find going back through history, there's usually some kind of plague or pandemic. Well, here's the interesting thing. By May, it started breaking up, right? The Saturn-Pluto conjunction happened January 15th of 2020. What did we find? A global, literal lockdown. We've never seen this in modern times like that. The whole planet shut down, right? Then it starts lightening up in May, like I thought it would. And then the George Floyd thing breaks out. Boom, riots, everything's burning, chaos, right? Then we have the, the Jacob Blake issue happened in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And then that was on a Mars square Saturn. And of course, the city's burned again. Then we had the election. And Mercury was retrograde 3 weeks before the presidential election. And the day of the election, Mercury stationed and was in a sustained square to Saturn, literally for like 2 or 3 days. Well, we hear all these rumors about voter fraud and voter, dumping and all this stuff. Personally, with the astrology, I would absolutely say that's true. And, everyone's running around on the mainstream media saying it's President-elect Biden. And I said on Jimmy Church's show on Fade to Black, he didn't have me on too long because it was election night and he was hitting a lot of people. But I said, you're not going to know who the president is. And I said, even still, I see it going to Trump. Now, I'll get hate mail for this, because if I say anything positive about Trump, you and I are both on the coasts, and we were joking around about that. I'm in the West Coast office. You're in the East Coast office.
Yeah, we're in the blue buildings for sure.
Yeah, right. We're in the two areas where if you say anything positive about Trump, you're going to get a brick through your window. Yeah. So here's the point. I'm not saying anything about positive about Trump or negative. I'm simply looking at the astrology. I think, and I know this is a bold statement because most of the astrologers I've coerced or talked with or caucused with, I should say, they all think it's President-elect Biden, and Biden's going to look like this on election day. I don't think Biden's going to get in. Now, I could be wrong, but I tell you what, one of the things that I use that's a lot different than most astrologers, many have heard of horary. I hate that word. It's a Latinized term. The real word from the ancient Egypt times and Greek times forward is called interrogation. In Vedic astrology, we call it prashna. That's divinational. You don't need your birth time. Doesn't matter what time Joe or Donald Trump is born. It doesn't matter. It's divinational. I keep getting consistently that Donald Trump is going to take this back and he's going to win. And that he's very likely to be the guy taking the oath on the 20th. And if he doesn't take the oath, he's still going to be in. There are rumors bubbling. Many people have heard of Sidney Powell, and we've also heard of, the things that are going on with Giuliani and on. We've heard, consistently by the media, well, this judge is throwing it out and that judge is throwing it out and this one's throwing it out, and it's all nonsense. And of course, we just heard the other day, William Barr saying, yeah, but I haven't seen any credible evidence. Well, that's only what he's saying when he plants himself in front of a high definition TV camera. I think what's about to happen is you're going to see Sidney Powell, as well as what a lot of people don't know is, and maybe a lot of people do, a lot of people listen to X22, which I think is real good, but there was a little event that happened in Frankfurt, Germany, and it involved the CIA. It also involved our military, and 4 people were purportedly killed. I got that was true. And what happened is they confiscated the servers. And if anybody has been listening to Rita Bartolomo the other day on Fox News, she had the only, and so far the only, interview that anyone has done with Trump by phone. And he sounded not depressed, he sounded suppressed. He sounded like, well, I wish the FBI was doing more, and I wish the Department of Justice was acting more. And she pressed him 3 times. I mean, she got in his face verbally and said, what are you going to do? What are you going to come up with? How are you going to deal with this? He evaded her elegantly. It almost sounded like Ronald Reagan. He elegantly evaded answering 3 times that specific question. Well, enters astrology. So what am I doing here? Well, I can tell you, I think, and I'm stepping out on a limb to say this, but I'll say this on your show, and you're the only show I've said it on. In fact, I've been keeping radio silence. You called me, and that's why I came on, because I was
radio silence. Yep.
Radio silence. Yeah. So what happens, I think, is we could see the Supreme Court either invoke Article 12 of the Constitution. And what does that mean in plain English? Well, that means it's the House will be forced to select the president. Well, guess what? There's 26 Republican votes and there's 23. They can't negotiate. They can't argue about it. It's not hands on the bat. That's the way it goes. They get one vote per state. It'll go to Trump. If that happens, I think you're going to see hell come to breakfast. Why? Because the Antifa and liberal side are going to become unhinged. Either way you cut this, let's just play a devil's advocate and say, okay, Trump doesn't get in. You're going to see the right side come unhinged, no matter what happens. There's a little something, you may have heard of this. There was a guy called Obama back in 2013 who signed something in. It was actually called the Act of 2012. It's known as the 2013 National Defense Act, but it had a little something inside of it called the HR 4310. Now, people might say, well, what does that mean? Well, it's the Schmidt-Mundt Modernization Act of 2012, which basically gave all of the United States media free rein to use propaganda against its own people.
Yeah.
In fact, if anybody wants to research that, you can actually go in and look and you'll say, wow, geez, this actually sounds just like CNN and the rest of them. And even, Fox too follows the thing. So what's interesting is we've heard Trump call the media fake news. Well, it may be more fake than we know. And now Project Veritas is coming out with exposing CNN with all these meetings where they're basically, Zucker's coordinating or coercing everyone on how to portray throughout, the broadcasts every day. And that's explosive. So this whole act, this HR 4310 was huge. And what it's done is polarize the country. Now enters astrology. What does this mean? Where is it going? On the winter solstice, and this is the big one that I've been talking about for literally 10 to 15 years, we have a Saturn-Jupiter conjunction. Okay. That only happens once every 20 years. So most astrologers goes, yeah, but that happens every 20 years. Well, they're right, except this one happens a lot different than ever before. Why? 3 reasons. Number one, in a tropical zodiac, it's happening in what we call a new triplicity, which is the air sign first degree of Aquarius. That hasn't happened quite like this in 240 years. It ushers in a new era. It doesn't mean it's the Aquarian age. A lot of people think that. That's more the precession of the equinoxes. But it happens in the tropical zodiac. In the sidereal zodiac, which is Vedic astrology, and I use them both because I find they're both really insightful. Guess what? The Jupiter-Saturn conjunction happens within 23 degree minutes of arc. That's less than half a degree to the United States Pluto. That has never, ever happened before in the history of this country. And I think it's pretty safe to say, if the interrogations are right and Trump does make a major move and either gets the Supreme Court to invoke Article 12, and or here's the other scenario, and I think this one is highly likely. He's got 3-star generals right now and other people that we're not hearing about telling him to invoke the Insurrection Act because there is overwhelming evidence that the Dominion voting machines may have actually been manipulated through China, Frankfurt, Germany, Serbia, several other places.
Oh.
And,
is that a big surprise to everybody?
Is that a big surprise? Yeah. So we could be looking at literally a treasonous act of war. Now, this isn't me saying this. This is literally generals are telling Trump. And mysteriously enough, Donald Trump, I think I forget the exact order, but he just removed the control of the military to his Secretary of Defense personally under his guise. So now the so-called deep state doesn't really control the military anymore. He does through his Secretary of Defense. So what do we got here? We got a cocktail, in my opinion, that is something I've never seen before. And here's even more to boot. There's something, it's a strange term called Gandanta. Okay, and many people have heard of that. It almost sounds like, a strange Gandanta. But anyhow, what it means is anytime in a sidereal zodiac, you have a planet leaving a water sign and going into a fire sign. We all know what happens. Water kills fire, right? But when you leave the water and the fire ignites, boom, you get ignition. Guess what? This Jupiter-Saturn conjunction happens precisely when Mars goes from that final 29th degree of a water sign, Pisces in the sidereal zodiac, to kaboom, into the very intense sign of Aries. Now, that happens once every 2 years, but it's never happened exactly on a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction over the United States, Pluto, and at the same time that happening. Plus, there's other things in naughty astrology I could cite that additionally are quite profound. The moon at that time also goes Gandanta too, which is really a big deal. It's a huge deal. And backing it up to when does the flame start to ignite? I think this December 14th, because there is a new moon eclipse right on the 14th. And guess what? That's Gandanta too. Why? Because that's leaving the final degree of sidereal Scorpio and it's going into the fire sign. Plus what happens right as this Jupiter-Saturn happens on the 21st, we get another Kala Sarpa yoga. And people might say, well, what does that mean? Well, Kala Sarpa yoga also means it's like a serpent curse, and that doesn't break for the moon breaks it every 2 weeks, but it really doesn't break until when? About March 31st.
I got you. Okay. Well, let's keep it there at the Kala Sarpa yoga. We got to take our first break. We'll leave it right there. We'll come back with Jeff Harman. We're getting our astrological report, basically our forecast from one of the best in the business, Jeff Harman at jeffharman.com. Stay with us. More Lighting the Void coming up.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone app or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Are you stressed? I mean, who isn't? Anxiety creeping in? No, not that. Is sleep hard to attain because your brain just won't slow down? We're living in crazy times, and the fear knob has been turned up. Okay, there's an answer. Take a big breath, exhale, and go log on to AncientLifeOil.com. CBD, broad and full spectrum, organic and non-GMO CBD for you to enjoy. Change your tune from fear to calm, from brain overload to clear thinking. 0.003 THC on full spectrum and 0% THC on broad spectrum. Competitive pricing with the best quality. Also know everything is going to get better. No worries, be happy. CBD can help calm so your nerves don't think they're a 6-string electric guitar. Enjoy life, smile, and log on to ancientlifeoil.com for great CBD. That's ancientlifeoil.com. You'll be glad you did.
Want to know what's on The Fringe FM? Check out our schedule at thefringe.fm.
Hola, Fringe listeners. This is Dave Cruz of Beyond the Strange, and you're listening to The Fringe FM.
This is Malorcas45, fan of The Fringe FM, challenging everyone to open their mind's eye. Listen to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop to gain precision for your third eye vision.
My name is Jake. I'm from Billings, Montana, and I am a void walker.
Hey, Joe Root. Thanks for lighting the void. This is Janine in the bluegrass of Kentucky, and I am a void walker.
What's up, guys? This is Damien from San Marcos, Texas, and I'm a void walker. I listen to the show to keep myself aligned with the world.
Hi, this is Laura, aka Laura Lavender. I'm from Las Vegas, and I listen to Lighting the Void because it helps me understand some of the strangest experiences I've had. So thanks for all that you do and for always being there for us, Joe.
Hi, this is Kronox from Belgium, and you're listening to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop.
Hey, this is country music singer and void walker Jason Benoit, and when I need my fix on the world of magic and the capabilities of the human consciousness, I listen to Joe Roop right here on Lighting the Void Radio.
Born out of the alchemical tradition of Paracelsus is a medical tradition called Spagyria. Though not many people practice this work today, Phoenix Aurelius has been researching and teaching this work for the last 15 years, and he needs your support.
Hi, I'm Phoenix Aurelius, and I'm the founder of the Phoenix Aurelius Research Society, where I perform modern scientific research on the methods and techniques of Paracelsian alchemy and Spagyria for health, wellness, agriculture, ecology, and more. All my work is 100% funded by the public. So if you like what I'm doing and you want to support my research, please consider making a purchase of spagyric medicines from my apothecary, fund your own spagyric IDF wellness research, or participate in my group study or one-on-one immersion courses so that you can learn how to perform this work for yourself. I want to thank you in advance for your support.
Visit thefringe.fm/alchemy research and enter coupon code FRINGE and receive 15% off anything and everything on the website. That's thefringe.fm/alchemy research. And thank you for doing your part and keeping alchemy alive in the modern day.
So right in the heat of Jeff Harman's, I guess you could say, his projection for the astrological energies, we were talking about this new moon coming up on the 14th. Now, we're going to have Mary on during that time, but I think it's interesting. So I kind of want to recap, not like exactly where we left off, Jeff, but as you were talking about the new moon and what that's representing in the Kala Sarpa yoga that we're coming into.
Well, I would say this, that why this new moon is so significant is because it's Saros cycles. See, Saros cycles is a name that the Chaldeans had for the eclipses, and they would start at the new or full moons. They usually start at a new moon, either at the poles of the South or the North Pole. Well, the one that we had, see, November 30th was a lunar eclipse because it was a full moon, right? So the one coming up on the 14th here of December is a new moon eclipse. And that's, you can only get a solar eclipse on a new moon. So what that's significant about is there's several things. One is it's called Saros cycles for South. Now you might say, okay, great. What does that mean? The Chaldeans named these serocycles because they knew that they had specific energies when they were created. In fact, this 4 South was actually created in the 12th century. So it actually was 1208, August 13th. And what happens is when this eclipse happens, it happened at a midpoint of Mars and Pluto conjunction squaring Venus. So it's highly emotional, highly volatile. The other thing is it happens right on Donald Trump's moon. So he's likely to take drastic action. Yeah, it's right on his moon. Donald Trump was actually born on a full moon. That's one of the reasons Trump, I think, creates so much. The people either love him or they hate him. I mean, there's no in-betweens with this guy. He's an exceedingly, you could say, powerful person that either generates love or hate. And I've never seen anything in my life like this. I mean, if you watch many of the news channels, I mean, it's hate Orange Man news. That's all it is. It's hate Orange Man news. It's either that or COVID. That's what it is. And I mean, you watch CNN, they literally will have Cuomo glaring into the camera as the camera is positioned to zoom in on him, how he, just sits there and castigates him. So I've never seen anybody who has evoked these kinds of emotions in people. So Trump having this new moon on his natal moon, in other words, this eclipse on his natal moon, is likely to precipitate some powerful action on this election fraud. And I think between now and I was mentioning before the break that we have that period from the 14th up until the 21st, the winter solstice. And by the way, for anyone, listening, the winter solstice, as everyone knows, the solstices and equinoctial points are where, of course, the sun crosses the ecliptics or on the equinoxes, and then, of course, is at its lowest point on the winter solstice and its highest on the summer. So they're very, very powerful points energetically, and they always have been. And the other thing I would say, they have great karmic implication in Nadi astrology. Nadi astrology is spelled Naadi, and it's a profound astrology and one of my favorites that I just love because it really talks about consciousness and what this matrix called the solar system really is in terms of our journeys here in our lifetimes. But why that's so significant with Trump is because not only is it happening on his moon, it's also happening right next to his south node. See, Trump was born literally probably 40 minutes after a Sarpa yoga. So, and I noticed people who are born with Sarpa yogas have really fated lives for good or for ill. They have powerful destinies. So what's going to happen is between the 14th of December all the way up to the 21st, great events are going to be happening. They're going to affect the future of this country. Why? Because not only is he the president, but the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction is happening on the United States Pluto, and all of this plays in. I think we're going to hear some really powerful stuff coming out by then. And again, remember that Mars leaves the water sign, which is called Gandanta, to the Aries ingress right on the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction. And what's even more important is between the 21st and the 25th, we have both Jupiter and Saturn slowly steamrolling over the United States Pluto. So I would expect this holiday season to be quite unlike any others. And again, if these generals are correct, and I personally think they are from everything I can see, because, when you study astrology, most astrologers will spend all kinds of time trying to interpret what either mundane or natal aspects mean, either to the country or to an individual, which is good. And I do that too. But the one that I use the most to supplement that is the divinational type of astrology known as interrogation or prashna. And drumroll, I did a couple of charts. I keep getting Trump's going to win. Now,
so you're telling me that Trump is going to be the guy. Because, you know, this has been tried with other presidents and stuff too. Election fraud or not, it always seems like, you know, somebody gets screwed or whatever. But he's going to be the guy that no matter if Biden was elected or not, I believe this. He has,
Biden,
if anybody has, you know, like if anybody has the potential to overthrow this thing, you know, the way it should be. I'm not saying Biden won legally because I don't know who won legally. I don't think we'll ever know, but I do know, and I do know for sure that, I mean, let's look at logic here. There has to be fraud here. There's no way that man won by that much. That's impossible. I don't think that happened as far as the votes. And they've already officially found votes that didn't get counted anyways. It's official.
Yeah.
You know, so we know there's voter fraud. There's no doubt about it. So, like, this could be the
there
first.
may be voter fraud going back 20 to 30 years.
Right. And this is what I'm talking about. How big is stuff going to change? Because I'm afraid once the news pops about this and there makes like an official, you know, decision on this, that we're going to have some civil unrest here. That's what I'm afraid.
That's what I'm saying. I cast a chart on this. Okay. And again, this is supplemental to the interpretations that most astrologers do. When I cast the chart and I said, what's going to happen? I see either martial law coming in or the military having to be brought in to quell, again, more riots, more violence, more craziness. I've heard too, and this supports in the chart, that if this happens, they're probably going to need to do it because Antifa and other groups will go nuts. They will become unhinged. And I hope everybody saved their plywood. And I'm not trying to fearmonger here because I never do that. In fact, I've been on your show so many years and so many others, and I'm always the one going, you know, I don't think the world's going to end. I don't think the world's going to end now either. I think we'll get through this. But I got to say, I've never seen the symbolism as strong as I see now. And that's a bold statement. And I'm going way out on a limb to say this because I don't want to invoke fear. I more want to invoke awareness because like anyone in the military will tell you, the more you know about your situation, the more you're more likely to react appropriately.
Right.
So again, I'm not trying to fan fear mongering or fear porn here. I'm just saying if what I'm interpreting is the interpretations of this are right, we're going to see hell come to breakfast. It's going to be crazy. And I also want to add something I haven't said so far. The next 2 years, we have Neptune opposing Neptune in the United States chart. And I don't care if you use the Sibley chart or which chart astrologers want to use for the United States. Most astrologers take the purported time that the Declaration of Independence was started. One is the Sibley chart, named after Ebenezer Sibley. So no matter which one you use, the outer planets that are happening here over the next 2 years, we have a Pluto return happening 3 times throughout 2000, and it's at the end of 2021 all the way through 2022. Plus this coming year, 2021, we have Neptune opposing Neptune. Plain English, I think some of the stuff that we've heard that was supposed to happen, like the Durham investigations and people getting arrested and fraud being exposed, is highly probable to happen. Now, the flip side could happen. People could say, yeah, but you could interpret a Neptune opposition Neptune as also more deception. Well, they're right. But the interrogation seems to be the one that really tips the scales, for me anyhow, to say, no, this looks like a heavy hand comes down finally on this insanity and stomps it out. You know, if they bring in the military, you know, and I don't want to discredit the National Guard, I call them the weekend warriors, but they're great guys and women. But I would say if they bring in the military, they got toys the cops and the National Guard have never heard of. And they could, I don't know, one of the things people said is how could they get Donald Trump to go around 5 things a day, five rallies a day? They were using something called electromagnetic infrared spectrometry. It's like if you ever saw the movie Eraser with Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the 90s, they literally can see ants crawling underneath your refrigerator from a plane flying overhead or from a satellite. And they can see if someone's loading a gun a half a mile away in a building. They can literally see like X-ray vision. And I know the military has had that for a long time. And I think we're going to see stuff like that actually come into play to quell the potential violence. Now, again, I'm looking at a chart right now that I cast saying, what is the significance of this whole situation coming up between now and the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction on the 21st and this whole election issue? It looks like a lot of intense energy with a lot of angry people.
A lot of
that
drama,
is probably
for sure.
going to have the military involved.
You see, and this is something like, if we look in our history, this is what causes things like, and this is what Ryan Gable talks about, and a lot of people hate him for it, but he's been trying to tell people that this is exactly the kind of stuff that happened when, Hitler was in office, right? Because you had all these liberal, let's say socialist groups that were causing hell, and they were taking away conservatism. They were also taking away a lot of things like the family and the structure of the family, things like that, right? Now, I'm not saying Hitler's a good dude, okay? I'm not. So don't put me in that category. But what happened is when these people come in and take power, they start to get this big head, and they think that what happens to these guys like Hitler is they think, well, these people don't know any better, so I'm going to force it, right? And then they just go all power crazy and do stupid stuff. But regardless, everything that happened before Hitler took power is happening in our country in that order.
You are so right, Joe. I'm so glad you brought that up. There is a PBS special right now that literally is termed The Rise of the Nazis. It's at pbsssocal.org. People should watch it. It is precisely what's happening. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because everyone thinks this is about Trump and Biden. No, it's not. No. This is about nationalism and globalism, and that's the symbolism of the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in a new era. I knew they were going to move on us. I didn't think they'd do it in 2020. I didn't think they'd do it this soon. Technology is serpentining around everyone. I'm talking to people all over the globe, in literally shamans in South America, people in Southeast Asia, in Europe, in Australia, New Zealand. They're all telling me the same thing. This COVID thing has got them locked down, and nobody fully believes it.
Yeah.
Here's
the thing. What are we going to do? Like, this is what people are panicking about. When they got you focused on COVID, they got you focused on keeping inside and keeping indoors. They got people, like fear-mongering. They're calling people that don't want to wear a mask, or anybody that bucks the systems, that you're a walking murderer. So once they got you psychologically broke down, right, that's all they're going to do. Like, the whole plan. And you guys, let's look this stuff up. Don't take my word for it. Every time the UN runs a drill on something, like a drill to prepare for something, that thing happens not too long afterwards. Go look at that.
That's exactly what happened on COVID. Exactly. You're right. You're exactly right. I don't know if anybody heard of Klaus Schwab. He's another, Nobel Peace Prize boy wonder, who is literally like a protege of Hitler. And, everyone's heard of George Soros and all that, but the boys behind him they're creepy. And they would love to see everyone vaccinated with nanochipped vaccinations, and basically turn us into subhuman, machines. That's their dream down the line. Mm-hmm. And this stuff sounds eerie and creepy. And I don't want to sit here and, put everybody into fear, because, vaccinations have helped a lot of people. But there's some eerie stuff going on right now. And this isn't about Trump and Biden. If Biden actually does assemble and get in, I can tell you we're probably going to be learning Mandarin. We're going to be learning Chinese.
You got that right, brother. Yeah,
in 2 years, we'll have an army of young men show up with guns pointed at us. Sir, you have to come to re-education camp because you've been texting and saying things inconsistent with what is accepted. It'll be like Minority Report. Well, you didn't do it, but we know you were going to. And, I'm not trying to spread fear, but this isn't about Trump and Biden. This
Well, it's
is
not about spreading fear
nationalism.
either. It's also don't bury your head in the sand just because you're too afraid of addressing your fear. I mean, to let fear control you is one thing, but because you're afraid of fear so much that you don't address the reality of situations, that's a whole nother thing, you know?
People are afraid right now. They're really afraid. And I could tell you the astrology shows if there's ever been a time things are going to come unhinged here, it's coming right up. It's coming right up. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it all blows over and everybody acquiesces and everything goes fine. But if the charts are right, it's going to be intense.
Well, didn't you say something too about like astrology is the energies that are coming down the road, right? Now, if let's just say we were in an evolved society, Jeff, if we were in an evolved society, let's say back in the days of ancient Egypt, the old dynasty and things like that, and we talked about these energies, we looked at this as like this metaphysical thing as a real thing, we would make decisions based on that. I think that's why the Egyptians probably lasted 3,000 years or so, because they knew the energies that were coming. Now, all of us on the show, we know these energies. We talk about them. The problem is the majority of people out there are getting played by the energies. They're not even aware of it, you know? So
right.
How do we, I know you say like, well, we're not our astrology. this is just the weather. We can do what we want. We make our own fate kind of thing. But how do we do that with stuff like this? You know,
well, you're bringing up a subject that I really love. And one of, I think, my favorite areas of research that I'm continuously growing and researching in is the ancient mysteries of Nadi astrology. Nadi astrology, spelled Naadi. A lot of people have heard of Vedic astrology, but there's several branches. There's one called Parashara or Parashara, that's named after Maharishi Parashara. Then you have Jaimini, which is Maharishi Jaimini. The older stuff really seems to be Nadi. And why I bring that up, Joe, is exactly what you were just saying. The angularity of the Earth, which is about 23 degrees, give or take 40 minutes, 38 minutes, something like that. NASA puts it, I think, right about 38-ish. I could be a little off, but pretty close. That's why we have seasons, okay? That's also why we have new and full moons. In fact, speaking of the ancient Chaldeans and Egyptians and on back, they say there was a time when the moon never waxed and waned. Now, if you look at the ecliptical patterns, the ecliptic is a fancy word for the apparent path of the sun around us, but it's really us around the sun, right? Any astronomer will tell you that. But the moon, the enigma of the moon, it's flips around at above and below another ecliptic. When that aligns, that's where you get eclipses. And every month, of course, we know the moon appears to darken, which it does, because it blocks the light of the sun on the moon, or I should say the sun's light is blocked on the moon, and we get a new moon. And then, of course, it grows throughout the next 2 weeks, get a full moon, and then it starts waning again. All of that is due to the orbital position of the moon and the angularity of the Earth, including our seasons. Well, guess what? Nadi astrology specifically says the nodes of the moon, which are known as the north and south nodes in Western astrology, or Rahu and Ketu, are respectively responsible for the literal life and death on this planet. And I think they're right. And this is stuff I've been assiduously studying, and I have a group that I'm studying with in India. Fascinating stuff. In fact, there's a wonderful story where Dr. V.B. Rahman, back in I think it was the 40s or 50s, showed up at this place, and they do Nadu Tamil Nadi astrology, and they come out with the palm leaves, right? And the guy says, there's nothing on the palm leaf, or V.B. Rahman said that, because it was supposed to be for his soul and his birth chart. And the guy chants a mantra, and all of a sudden text appears all across the palm leaf. And then it was in the wrong language, so he rechanted another mantra, and it appeared in the proper Tamil that he could read. And he was able to tell him all about his life and where he had come and his marriage and children. And then he stops. He says, that's all they'll let me tell you right now. So Nadi astrology has a mystical depth that is angelic. It is amazing, and you can do it. In fact, I've incorporated it now in all my readings because I just love it. Every single person I have seen who's passed away has done it precisely when the moon's south node has had connection to Saturn. See, they look at Saturn as your karma, and the south node is liberation of the karma, and Jupiter as the life breath of the soul, and Rahu as Kala Purusha, which actually equals time. Hence why all the stuff I was talking about earlier with Trump and the United States and Joe Biden and this colossal energy we're at right now, everybody feels it. You can feel it's like a spring tension. And that's because the nodes are really tightly involved with all these major conjunctions that are happening, plus the Kala Sarpa yoga that we talked about. Kala Sarpa yoga is when all the planets end up on one side or the other of the moon's north and south nodes. Great mystery in the nodes. And I can tell you, every time I see someone exit the body, I call it taking the pipe, but whenever we're all going to take the pipe, right? So whenever they exit the body or transition known as death, those are very carefully lined up. I've seen it repeatedly. I saw it with my mother. I've seen it with my grandmother. I've seen it with every person I've looked at. And you can pretty much see when that's going to happen. Could you evade it? Yes, possibly. But it's almost like we're karmically built in. I always say, forget Trinity, Neo, and Morpheus. This is truly, naughty astrology truly is the Matrix. And you can see that the celestial mechanics of the solar system combined with the earth and the moon and the sun, that's the key. It's the sun, which is the life force energy, the moon, which is where the soul and the manas of the mind pass through, and the eclipse points that really are the trigger points with consciousness and awareness on this planet. It's fascinating stuff. Fascinating.
Yeah, it is fascinating. And we're right at the top of the hour, too. Look, we'll open the phone lines up when we come back. But here's the thing. We're not going to do readings with Jeff because there's a lot to talk about, and I want to talk about predictions and the energy so much. So if you got a quick question for Jeff about astrology or any maybe, predictions about basic stuff that we're going into the future with here, or any astrological questions, you're welcome to call in, or any esoteric or spiritual cleansing or paranormal type questions too, if you're very familiar with Jeff. We'll be right back. More Lighting the Void coming up. Go check out his website, jeffharman.com, Harman. We'll be right back.
This is the Rogie Report news on the Fringe FM. I'm Jess Rogie. The iconic Arecibo telescope in Puerto Rico collapses before they could demolish it. Scientists and space nerds are mourning the collapse of the iconic radio telescope in Arecibo, Puerto Rico. The telescope collapsed Tuesday morning after showing signs of extreme weakness. The Arecibo telescope suffered major damages back in August when a cable broke. The Arecibo radio telescope was a crucial tool in understanding asteroid risks to Earth, and it would take a lot of money and initiative to replace. The Utah Monolith rose to internet fame when it was discovered during a sheep count. Like wildfire, the stories of the monolith riddled the internet, causing curious adventure seekers to make the trek out to the Utah desert to take a selfie. Once the adventure seekers have claimed their precious treasure, they return back to civilization. What those treasure-seeking selfie takers didn't realize is this is natural land, and over the Thanksgiving holiday, hundreds of people made the trek to the remote area. The adventure seekers parked on plants flattening them and also left human waste behind. The monolith has since been removed by Sylvan Christensen and Andy Lewis. They stated, "We removed the Utah Monolith because there are clear precedents for how we share and standardize the use of our public lands, natural wildlife, native plants, fresh water sources, and humans' impact upon them." So the best way to stop people from coming out there was to simply remove the monolith. Conspiracy theory, which was once considered a fringe topic, has become more mainstream. How do you know if a conspiracy theory is true? According to DefenseOne.com, an AI tool can tell a conspiracy theory from a true conspiracy, using machine learning tools to graph the elements and connections of the narrative. And according to the article, these tools could form the basis of an early warning system technology or alert authorities to online narratives that pose a threat in the real world. So kind of like an earthquake detector, there could be a conspiracy detector. Watch out, there's a conspiracy coming. This is the Rogie Report News on the Fringe FM. I'm Jess Rogie.
Astral travel, magic, mysticism, and manifestation. What used to be heresy should be understood as our birthright. These are some of the topics we discuss on Lighting the Void, where we take you deep into the unknown. There are guest interviews, live unscreened calls, and me, Joe Root. Come join our family of explorers of consciousness, weeknights at 9 p.m. Pacific time to 11, right here on KTLK Digital Broadcasting, The Fringe FM.
Hey, this is No Way Jose, a Northern California Piscean stuck in the Arizona desert. I'm a void walker, and I got the shoes to prove it. So what do I do when my soul yearns to delve deep into the realm of the unknown? I aim my satellite straight into the night sky and catch a smooth ride on the KTLK-DB radio waves. I tune into Lighting the Void with Joe Root on The Fringe FM.
Joe, Lighting the Void is the best show on the planet. This is Barney, your friend from Facebook. Thank you and all the crew for all you do. Namaste, my friend.
This is Macon from the foothills of North Carolina, and I am a void walker.
G'day, void walkers. This is Lily from down under Australia. The world may be small, the enigma is greater. So let your curiosity take you for a journey with Joe Root.
Hey, this is Fee, coming in from Central Maryland, and I am a void walker.
This is Kevin Doherty, a beginner void walker. I'm from Vancouver, BC. I know a little about a lot, and as Leonard Skinner said, I'll guess the rest. I learned a lot from Mr. Root in the show, and heard it from the beginning. I knew right then he was going to be a new art pal. Thanks for all your shows, and keep it up.
Hey, this is Derek from Mass, aka the Night Stalker, and I'm a void walker.
This is Mark from Chicago, and I walk the void to ascertain what is consciousness.
My name is Jared Johnson, and I'm from Humboldt County, California. I do not know all of the answers to the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I'm a void walker. Thanks, Joe Root.
This is Barbara Charlton from Metaphorical Archaeology. If you've ever had a traumatic paranormal experience, the effects of it may stay with you for years. Who do you talk to? You can't go to conventional help. What we do is we use emotional freedom techniques or tapping to actually neutralize the effects of that event. Maybe when you tell the story now, your heart races and your palms get sweaty. You don't even want to think about it because you don't know how to neutralize that. That's what EFT tapping brain does. It neutralizes those emotions. The circuit that was recorded on is gone. The energy flows freely and you're free of it. And that's what emotional freedom is all about. We offer this as a pro bono service, but this is something that I offer because no one, it seems, is helping people with these experiences. If you'd like to reach me, it's really easy. My cell phone is 214-995-3754. Please leave a message. I will get back to you as quickly as possible. Or you can email me, barb.eft@gmail.com. And EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. Reach out to me. It's confidential. This works. You won't believe the results.
Have you heard of heavy metals? Yeah! I'm not talking about the heavy metals in the junkyard. I'm talking about the heavy metals that build up in your body. Heavy metals in your body can make you feel sluggish, fatigued, and just plain off. Why not try Life Change Tea at getthetea.com? Cleansing your body and making you feel great. Cleansing the inside of your body of intruders that sneak their way into you and set up an intruder camp. Life Change Tea helps remove unwanted intruder camps. Brew it, steep it, and drink in the results. Tastes great, so you can create a new health habit. Our tea loves to help people. It just needs the chance. So order yours today by logging on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Our Life Change Super Strength Tea is waiting. This could be a beautiful relationship. Take charge of your health. Order at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com.
The Fringe FM isn't just a radio station. We also provide services for all your audio production needs. If you are interested in live radio or pre-recorded podcasts, we're here to help. We even do audio enhancements and voiceovers if needed. If you want to do a podcast or live radio show and even want the option to syndicate on terrestrial radio, from simple audio file enhancement to live production and call screening, we have you covered. We have worked with some of the best professionals in the business in order to provide coaching instruction for content creation, show structure, and more. Contact The Fringe Digital Media for more at info@thefringe.fm. That's info@thefringe.fm, or call 501-777-5631 for a consultation.
From the Kingdom of Arkansas, you are listening to Joe Root and Lighting the Void here on the Fringe FM.
Hey, this is Amalia from Know the Self Mystery School. I know that you are in the midst of massive change. We all are. This is the great turning, the time that we all decided to be here on the planet. Do you know why you came here to be a part of this crazy time? If not, I invite you to join my mystery school. I have a 9-week course called Activate Your Mission. And in this course, you're going to learn how to erect crystal clear boundaries so that you can hear that inner still voice that's going to guide your every move. Even if you're dealing with feeling weighed down by obligations and being enslaved to the system, this course is going to give you the tools you need to illuminate your shadow and awaken to your soul's mission. The moment you sign up to the school, you are going to be greeted by not only a group of soulful spiritual warriors, but you're also going to get some massive karmic clearings, and you're going to feel the energy. It's palpable. I hope you'll join me in the school where together we're going to unlock your divine mission.
Activate your mission by going to thefringe.fm/soul mission and put in the code word fringe and receive $50 off today.
Hey, this is No Way Jose, a Northern California Piscean stuck in the Arizona desert. I'm a void walker, and I got the shoes to prove it. So what do I do when my soul yearns to delve deep into the realm of the unknown? I aim my satellite straight into the night sky and catch a smooth ride on the KTLK-DB radio waves. I tune into Lighting the Void with Joe Root on the Fringe FM.
Joe, Lighting the Void is the best show on the planet. This is Barney, your friend from Facebook. Thank you and all the crew for all you do. Namaste, my friend.
This is Macon from the foothills of North Carolina, and I am a void walker.
G'day, void walkers. This is Lily from down under Australia. The world may be small, the enigma is greater. So let your curiosity take you for a journey with Joe Root.
Hey, this is Fee, coming in from Central Maryland, and I am a void walker.
This is Kevin Doherty, a beginner void walker. I'm from Vancouver, BC. I know a little about a lot, and as Leonard Skinner said, I'll guess the rest. I learned a lot from Mr. Root in the show, and I heard it from the beginning. I knew right then he was going to be a new Art Bell. Thanks for all your shows, and keep it up.
Hey, this is Derek from Mass, aka the Night Stalker, and I'm a void walker.
This is Mark from Chicago, and I walk the void to ascertain what is consciousness.
My name is Jared Johnson, and I'm from Humboldt County, California. I do not know all of the answers to the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I'm a void walker. Thanks, Joe Rube.
Lighting the Void. We're into the second hour here with Jeff Harman. Took a little bit long of a break there because I was getting some pretty important information. I try to, get a little bit of astrological information from Jeff while I can, because I only get to talk to him every once in a while. So I got a little selfish on you. I apologize about that. But we're back with Jeff Harman. Go to his website, Jeff Harman, JEFFHARMAN, jeffharman.com. Again, guys, this is one of the astrologers that I've talked to since the beginning. Between him and Mary, if there was only other one astrologer in the world I'd probably want to talk to, and I probably will never get to talk to him anyways, but I don't need one. I've always gotten my readings from Jeff, and I've always gotten psychic and tarot stuff from Mary, and everything has just been fine. So if you guys, you're just going to have to take my word on this one, all right? I'm not just blowing smoke here. If you want a really good astrological reading, you want the best technicality stuff, the best reading you can get, it's recorded. You'll have it forever, and he'll go over multiple, it's not just going to be one thing. He's going to go over location with you, Eastern astrology, Western astrology. Very, very thorough. One of the best in the business. And thanks again for coming on the broadcast, Jeff. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome, Joe. Thanks for having me.
So, and I mean that, man. You're one of the best. I mean, there's, a lot of astrologers, they go out and they kind of tell you what they feel. They get kind of psychic about it and stuff. The one thing I know about you that I can depend on with astrology is you just keep diving into the technicals of it. You do your history. You study astrology. You study charts. I mean, you're well studied and you're very technical. And I don't know if it's because I got this Mercury thing going in Aries or whatever, but I really appreciate that. I like the thorough stuff, Well,
it's very data orientated. It really is. The ancient astrology was astronomy, and modern astrology really kind of fell apart from the late 1600s forward. It's become, sun sign astrology, and ancient astrology wasn't like that. It was astronomy. They were one and the same. All the ancient astrologers were astronomers.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and speaking of that too, do you find any, as far as spiritual stuff is concerned, do you see any type of energies there where because that's kind of what I'm banking on here, and we're going to take some phone calls here in just a second, but that's kind of what I'm banking on here is an awakening by people, even though there's this kind of chaos and isolation going on. I'm kind of banking on that a little bit.
You bet, me too. In fact, I think the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction is going to usher in a new era of high-tech as well as conscious revolution that's going to be amazing. And the reason why, in the tropical, it happens in the sign of Aquarius. Now, the siderealists will tell you that Jupiter is still debilitated in Capricorn, and they're right. And that can bring a lot of debased stuff going on. But I see this as the beginning of a 240-year era of high-tech awareness and, you could say, growth. I really think the world's going to become like the Jetsons here in the next 20 years. I really do. I think there's suppressed energies, particularly cold fusion and many of the other things, Tesla and others, and I'm talking Nikola Tesla here, not the company Tesla. Though Tesla seems to be at the forefront too. By the way, since we brought up the word Tesla, do you know that Elon Musk just got 4 COVID tests in one day? Guess what? 2 turned out positive and 2 turned out negative.
That's hilarious.
It's
I
true.
believe that. It's true. I totally believe that. Yeah.
I mean, I don't trust it. And again, I'm going by guys that know a lot more about medicine than I'm ever going to know. And I can tell you that the word is, this thing has been politically emphasized to the benefit of the globalists. I'm not saying COVID isn't real. What I am saying is they wanted it to be a lot worse than I think it is. And they're fanning the flames on this.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Totally. Let's go to the phones real quick. 310 area code. You're on the air with Jeff Harman. Who are we speaking with? Line 2, 310 area code. You're on the air with Jeff Harman. Who are we speaking with? All right. Yeah, this is sorry, I got you on the wrong line here. So this is Cody. Curtis, I'm sorry, brother. What's on your mind, Curtis?
Yeah, I was wondering, has Jeff ever looked at the chart of, say, Kamala Harris and did like a, to try and correspond to see if Joe is actually going to get elected? Because I hear different things from different people. Like I've heard, for example, that Joe Biden, he would not be the king, but he's the kingmaker. And you have to look at Kamala's chart in order to see what's really going on there. And then I've heard that Kamala has debilitated Mars and Jupiter, so she can't be president. But then I've heard that her debilitation is canceled, so it's more powerful than a normal Sun and Mars, so she can be president. So I'm just wondering if Jeff has ever looked at that to correspond with his prediction.
Well, I have looked at her. I don't have her up right now. That's called Nichabanga, when there's cancellation of debilitation. And I can say this, that I could pull her up. I still stand by, I don't think, and I'm going on a limb saying this, I don't think when it's all said and done, you're going to see Biden and Harris in. And I know that sounds extraordinary. People are going to say I'm nuts. Oh my God, Biden won. He's president-elect. This election is not done. I'm telling you, it's not done. The Mercury was retrograde on the election for 3 weeks, went direct on the day of the election, squaring Saturn. This thing is not over. And to those who like hearing that, great. And those who don't, well, I'm just reading the chart.
It's I love it. It's just the charts, man. So,
yeah.
Curtis, are you calling from the LA area? Do you got any other questions for Jeff?
Yeah, just one more. So another thing about like say, for example, Donald Trump's chart, like I've read or heard, because I look at the YouTube videos and everything, that
sure.
They say, yeah, he has a more powerful chart than Joe Biden by far, but his Mahadasha is the problem. Like he's in a Jupiter Saturn, and his Saturn is a very bad planet for him. So they're saying, yeah, he may have a more powerful chart, but everyone can't win all the time. So even though he may have a more powerful chart,
actually his Saturn creates Raj Yoga. His Saturn creates Raj Yoga, believe it or not, with Venus. Raj Yoga means kingly union. See, he's got Saturn with Venus, which is Lord of his 10th, and Saturn's Lord of his 7th and 6th. It's way more powerful. The other thing, and most astrologers don't know about this, and that's naughty astrology. Trump just had Jupiter go into what we call a naughty karma earth trine, which is the moon trine of the earth to his sun. And plain English on that one is he's very much more empowered than people think he is. He may seem like he's not, but this is a powerful time for him. Much more. See, Biden's got the South Node going over his ascendant. A lot of astrologers say, oh, yeah, but Biden's got the nodes transiting his ascendant, so he's going to win. Not the South Node. See, the South Node is what we call liberation of karma, and it's going over his Sun and his Venus. Trump just had Jupiter and Saturn make an Earth trine to his Sun in the midheaven. Plus, Trump is in a Jupiter Mahadosha, if you're using the Vimshatari doshas, and that trines his Sun. So, I mean, it's just way more powerful. And in the Nadi, he's got that, again, that trine to his Sun in the 10th. And I would say, hands down, it's more powerful, even though I know everybody's declared he's, wiping his eyes and clearing out his desk in the White House. I don't get that. I really don't. I think this guy is resolved. I don't think he's going to resign. We've heard no concessions on his behalf. I think we're about to see a bushel basket of evidence be dumped on the desk of William Barr so he can take action. And I'm hearing things that are very consistent with the astrology that we're about to see some major changes coming up here in the month of December. That's going to really blow our minds.
Fantastic. Thanks for your calls, Curtis. Thanks for your good questions, by the way. All good questions. Thanks, man.
Yeah, great question. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right. I mean, it's like, I can tell that this is hard to handle for some people, and others, they're going to be nodding their head and agreeing and things like that. I can tell it's going to be, I don't know. Like, I don't want to take a side on anybody. And I think a lot of people are aware of that too. I think it's not about sides. I think it's just about being aware. One more phone call here. We'll get back into this discussion. Looks like 248 area code on line 1. You're on the air with Jeff Harman. Who are you speaking with?
Hey, Joe, this is Brent.
What's up, Brent? You got a question for Jeff?
Hey, it's always good to speak with you, Joe.
Yeah, you too, brother. You too. Thanks for the retweet, by the way. Appreciate it.
Yeah, always. As long as you post them early, I'll always retweet it.
Yeah, I got you. So what's on your mind? You got a question for Jeff?
Yeah, I got 2 questions actually.
All right, shoot.
I want to know what's going on with Pluto returns as far as the United States goes.
That's a good question.
I'd like to know.
That's a great question.
I'd like to know. Exactly if it's going to be hellacious.
All right, so let's start with that, because I know he's called in and asked about that before with Mary too. Like, the Pluto returns thing concerns him. Plus, he studies astrology a little bit too. Is it something that we should be concerned about? And I think he's looking at the traditional side on this, actually. So, but Pluto returns, that's anything to worry about, wouldn't it, Jeff? I mean, anytime you see something like that, doesn't perk your ears up a little bit.
Yeah. Pluto is always, I know they demoted Pluto from being a planet. They now moved it into being a planet again. Pluto rules transformation and reform. And I think that's exactly what we're going to see. I think we're going to be dealing with the forces of fascism, transformation, and this new era. One of the things I mentioned earlier was that, again, that executive order that Obama signed in, which was the HR 4310. These are the things I see going on with this country over the next 2 to 3 years. Major reform, major change, and a major clash between people that actually want literally socialism and communism versus people who want to remain in the Constitution. I think the Constitution, as well as the structures of this country, are going to be reformed and challenged over this next couple of years. It's going to be a profound time, one of the most profound this country has ever seen. And when you think about the Civil War, which clearly was huge, I think what's coming up, may be as in terms of the effect on the populace, just as profound.
All right, fantastic. Brent, what's your second question there?
Do you see a foreign attack on the United States?
So question. Far, no. And I hope I continue to be wrong on that. Or I hope the chart seems to be right.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing, too. Like, when we say attack, how do you know we haven't already been attacked?
We've already been attacked. Well, I think this election, and I think China has infiltrated this country so deeply. In the universities, they've poured millions into it. There appears to be overwhelming evidence. Now, again, this isn't my own prejudice. This is what I'm hearing from credible sources. I really believe we are already under attack right now. Our whole democratic process is under attack. And I think, again, your excellent first question, it mirrors this. I really believe we're going to see, there's not another country on this globe like the United States. There's not another one. Anybody can live here of any race, any creed, any color, any religion. And believe me, you go to countries like China and Russia and other places, it's horrible what they do to people in human rights. They literally can take you away just because they don't like. In China, they're literally doing rehearsals right now where they strap people to chairs and go out and they produce movies with their admission of guilt. It's horrible what they're doing. And people think that couldn't happen here. It actually could. I don't think it would happen easy here because people would fight it. But I think we're on the brink of some of these really totalitarian maniacs who want a New World Order socialistic plan, that it could happen. And the astrology is actually showing that that's what's on the chopping block here the next couple of years. It's that dire.
Yeah, I'm with you too. Thanks, Brent. Very good questions. I had a feeling he was going to, I had a feeling he was going to ask about Pluto too. Very good question. Thanks for your call,
Very
brother.
Good question.
And the retweet. All right. So let me look and see here what we got. Well, first too, I want to ask you this. This whole thing about people waking up, like, I think that's good, but I think we need to wake up on a different level, and realize, like, what Brent's question about is like the country being under attack. I feel like, and I hope nobody gets offended about this, but I feel like because that question's being asked, that we're not at the level of awareness that we need to be at. We're already under attack. It's not,
you are right on, Joe. Like, you are right on. We are.
Back in the day, we had, World War I, II, Vietnam, the Cold War, all that stuff. But we're in a different time, man, where the attacks, they come in a technological way. They come with all the space stuff that they're trying, all the technological giants that are trying to outdo each other. And then you got biological warfare that's happening. All of this stuff you can look up. There's no doubt that COVID was man-made. There's no doubt where it came from.
Yeah,
and
that's very mysterious.
Whether you want to say the United States started it or China did it, it doesn't matter. You can see the feud. Do you remember last time, it wasn't too long ago, we talked about it on the broadcast too, Jeff, where the nuclear warhead alarms went off on our side. It went off on the Japan side, then our side, and they were both like false alarms. My point is, we don't know the kind of warfare that's happening behind the scenes. So we have to put the pieces of the puzzle together, because that's all we can do. And when we try to do that, they call us conspiracy theorists, no matter how many facts we throw out. So we've been under attack since COVID came out. And I think COVID was here, and this is just because some of the stuff I experienced, in December of 2019. That's what I think. It was already
We've been
here.
under attack for 20 years, and it's been slowly eroding. And I think we're at a crescendo point right now. I really do. And I think what we're about to see happen here, this literally at the end of this year, I've never seen these kinds of aspects on the United States. This is exceedingly powerful. Trump is not going to roll over. He's not going to quit. He's literally not going to ever concede. It's not going to happen. They're going to come out fighting, and they're going to come out fighting really hard and really soon if this chart is right. And I think this is going to be a powder keg that's going to go off. I think it's going to settle. I think by spring, things will start to settle down and the disgruntled ones will back off. But I think it's
some heavy
really
drama's coming. Yeah.
Heavy drama's coming. And I hope I'm wrong, but it may be kind of like a necessary passing, almost like a bowel movement. You got to get it out. You got to get it done before we can move on and get back to a healthy state. And this is a cancer that I think has been metastasizing for a long, long time. And I hate to say it, but George Carlin was right on when he said, forget about the politicians. You have owners. They own this place. They print the money, and they do. And if anyone's ever listens to the American Dream, it was so spot on. It's eerie. And he's right. And I think we're at a clashing point right now where these forces are coming together and they're not going to coexist. One or the other is going to win. Which one? And I'm not saying this because it's anything I prefer, though it certainly is. I think in the end, the America is going to come back. I think it's going to come back. And I don't see that again with a Biden-Harris administration. I mean, people get mad at me for saying this. Well, how dare you? Well, okay. The only thing I can say is China will own this place if they actually swear them in. And believe me, Biden won't be president for long. I've looked at his chart. He's got at best maybe a year. They're pumping him up right now. It will be Harris, like your earlier questioner had said. It will be Harris. I just don't see that. Now, I could be wrong, but I got to tell you, in 2016, I think I was the only guy who almost got kicked off a radio show because I said Donald Trump was going to win not only the presidency, but the Republican nomination. This was I think, January.
I remember that too, man. I do. I remember, but you know what? Like, if you're just saying what the charts are saying, that's all there is to it. But doesn't mean
that's right.
But if you have a concern, I don't care. Look, even if you disagree with Jeff, I feel like if you have a concern and you care about your people and you care about your country, you should say the stuff, right? So, like, that's the way it is. Here's
the only thing I can say is I'm glad that the charts seem to support it, and they really do. I mean, I have consistently asked, is Trump really done? Is Biden really going to win? I keep getting no. Trump is going to come back, even though it looks like, he's done, he's finished, unequivocally lost. I don't see it that way. Not according to the astrology. I think he comes back with a boom.
Well, let's see what some of the callers have to say. You guys make sure let's limit it to one question too, because we're limited in time and a lot of people are calling in. So let's see, 404 Atlanta area. You're on the air with Jeff Harman. Who are you speaking with?
Hello, Joe and Jeff. This is Robert in Colorado.
Robert in Colorado.
I recognize that voice.
What's up, brother?
I've got an observation, and then I want to tie it back to the past as well as the future. Over the last few years, Trump has, and we've heard this from various people that have been analyzing and looking at the way in which he's conducted his administration and the work he's done, and it's typically been referred to as 3D or 4D chess. There's been some very astute and crafty moves, particularly in September of 2018, there was an executive order that he signed regarding the election, which, any elections going forward, which had a very specific impact on what's going on now. And it was particularly referred to any election interference from foreign forces. And we've heard all about what happened in Germany and with Dominion and all the various aspects that are coming to light through all of the people that are doing data analysis, a la Dr. Shiva, Code Monkey, and so forth. The additional move of bringing the Fed into the Treasury and of most recently the NSAM 57, that was an executive, it was actually a memorandum that JFK had put in place that he tried to execute, and then he was subsequently executed, not only for that, but for various other reasons. So tying that back to the past, Jeff, you and I have talked many times about the ways in which not only Nadia astrology, but also the Kabbalah, and the various ways in which the creation and the way that cosmology.
I remember you now.
that.
You've been on the show before, hadn't you? Like, haven't we talked to you before on here? Yeah.
Robert and I have done a lot of shows.
All right. Anyways, go ahead.
We talked about, the cycles within cycles as it relates to the cosmological creation of the way in which our reality manifests. What are your thoughts on the whole idea of Trump possibly being a reincarnation of Patton, and how that ties back to the way in which, his Uncle John was the one who was assigned by Vanderbilt Bush to go in and grab all of Tesla's work.
Oh, he did.
Right?
That's right.
How do you think that plays into what we're seeing now with Trump on, basically Trump he seems to be this manifestation of a powerful, powerful spirit that has been around for a long time and was essentially either appointed, anointed, or possibly said, hey, I'm coming back for this because this is what needs to be done in order to move what I think, we're talking, you keep hearing people talk about it being a civil war. I think it's more akin to the Revolutionary War, and it's not just for America, it is for the entire planet.
Well, that's a big... I can tell you that what you're saying, Robert, is got a lot of merit in so far as that wherever Trump has come from, I can tell you this is probably one of the most pivotal times since the signing of the Declaration of Independence that this country is facing right now. The Mars on that Jupiter-Saturn conjunction I was mentioning earlier literally goes into that Gandanta, which is, again, the transference from a water to fire sign, literally on the winter solstice through the 25th of December. And I think, again, we're going to see hell come to breakfast here. I think stuff is going to happen and be unleashed that Trump and his team are going to do that's going to blow everybody's hair back. And I think Biden, if I'm reading the charts right, he's going to get caught with his pants down, and a lot of other people with this election fraud. That's what the charts read to me. And as far as him being an incarnation, one thing's for sure. In the Nadia astrology, he's somebody very powerful. He's actually the kind of a soul that would stir incredibly moving and powerful events. You brought up something really good, Robert, and that is that executive order. That's, I believe, falls under the 52 USC 2701. I wrote that down. And what it did is Trump signed an executive order that requires all the records to be maintained for up to 22 months post the election. So a lot of these governors in places that are destroying materials right now are actually creating a legal situation for them that's literally out and out treasonous. There are generals right now who are calling for treason to be invoked in the Insurrection Act. And I would not be surprised if we see something like that based on what the astrology is here. And again, I can't look at whether or not he is. I've actually heard people say he may be Washington reincarnated. I guess I'd have to say at this juncture, I'd rather not go there. But for one thing's for sure, the astrology symbolism clearly shows this is probably one of the most powerful times in American history since it's the inception of this country.
Well, I think
the world, though. I mean, do you think that this is actually a global event, not just an American event?
It's got to be.
I do. I think America is. It's so funny because there was a client of mine in Australia. He's in security, great guy, really smart guy. He's been around all kinds of really high tech stuff. He says, in his opinion, he said, if Trump does do this, he said he's not saving America. He might be saving the world from going into a global situation. I have another friend and client in Belgium. He says the same thing. Very knowledgeable guy. I love talking with these guys because I get all these viewpoints and they're around a lot of very high tech stuff. And I'm hearing what's going on in these countries. This isn't just America. If this gets exposed, and again, I believe these reports are true. In fact, Robert, you and I were talking earlier today about this, how literally the implications of what will happen, not only with Dominion, but also with the fraud that's likely to be exposed. This could go into depths we've never seen before. I mean, there could be so many. I'm hearing right now, people are on their way to Guantanamo, and we're not hearing about it on the Mind Control News. And they're cutting deals, and stuff is happening right now that we're not hearing about. And you're not going to hear about because it's totally censored. You watch Facebook, Twitter, the social media cartel, and all the stuff we're seeing with our media. I think their life is very short if the astrology is right. I think we're going to see some serious changes coming up for the better.
Yeah.
But it's going to be intense.
Listen, for the sake of time, I really do have to hang up this phone, though. Thank you, Robert, for calling in. I appreciate the call, brother. Yeah, we got other callers coming in and stuff here, but yeah, good question.
My pleasure, gentlemen. Excellent show. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah, I remember that guy. We had a pretty cool discussion with him last time too,
Yeah,
we got to get
great.
You know what we ought to do? We ought to do a show one time, me, you, and him, and then just do a whole astrological show on JFK. I want to just focus in on that. That'd be fun to me. I don't know if you'd be down for something.
Oh yeah,
like
you
that,
ought to see the naughty astrology on JFK. I'll blow your hair back. Wow, that was right on when he got killed.
That's pretty annoying. The Chicago caller that we called in, dang it, I hung up so you could be on the air, and you hung up. Just lost your patience there, didn't you? But anyways, I don't want people to think that we're doing a show about Trump. That's like everybody loves Trump, and that, and of course, people are going to get that idea. Here's my concern, and I said it earlier in the broadcast, and I'll say it again. The things that are lining up that remind me of what happened there in the Hitler area. I talk to Ryan Gable about this all the time. I mean, we've looked at it in depth. The things that are happening are the same types of things that happened when Hitler took power, right? He took power because of the civil unrest, number one, because of all there was a lot of liberal, crazy stuff going on there. They're trying to take away pretty much our basic morals and our basic freedoms. That's what they were trying to do with him. Now, I'm not saying Trump is Hitler, but when you take somebody that stubborn, right, and you say, look, I'm not going to allow you to do this to my country, and then they succeed, Jeff, my concern is that if he succeeds with what he's going to do, that the big head doesn't stop and we get another one of those situations where it turns into tyranny. Because we're talking about a man that said, I don't even believe that we should do, what did he say? I don't believe we should do terms. Now, people look at Trump's face and the smirk he makes when he says that stuff, and the people that don't like him, they're going to laugh at him. But we're talking about the kind of guy that is so stubborn and so hell-bent on what he's going to do. He'll get it done. He is the kind of guy that could make that happen if he wanted to. That's what worries me about him, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that. I'm not here to defend Trump or defend Biden or anyone else. I can just say I think he'd have, or any president would have, a hard time pulling that one off.
He's kind of stubborn, though. You know what I'm saying?
Well, he's got Mars in the ascendant.
Yeah.
He's extremely intense, and that's what makes him, I think, be so forceful. But on the other hand, I would also counter that with I don't think I've ever seen anyone get attacked like him. I mean, the media has literally been designed to just completely thwart and attack this guy. And again, I'm not defending him, but he has a chart that is extremely. He's got a what we call a Yoga Karaka Mars. That's a fancy term in Vedic astrology that means Mars rules both his 9th and his 4th house, exceedingly powerful. So that is perceived as totalitarian. It is also perceived as one who might act like a dictator. I could tell you, I would tend to disagree with that from the astrology standpoint. Why?
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I think that is what the narrative the media has created, and
yeah, they don't. Well, I don't think he's going to be another Hitler. It's not even really about Trump.
I don't see that. I
it's
tell
more
you what,
about the
I
situation.
think if Harris gets in, you're going to see people behind her that will be like Hitler.
That's exactly my point. It's not Trump being like Hitler. It's the civil unrest. It's the situations that are lining up almost exactly like before World War II happened, right? Everything's cool. Then you have the media stuff, and then you have these offshoot liberal parties like what is it, Antifa, stuff like that. Then you have people trying to dig into your constitutions or what basically makes up your country, and then the world gets involved, right? And you got one
there
guy
will be
that is trying to stop it.
They call it voluntary surrender of your guns. That's what they're talking about. That'll never happen in this country. That not unless you start shooting people. And I again, I'm not here to defend Trump. I can tell you, I've got Trump's natal chart. I do not, in Vedic astrology, I do not see him. And again, I'm not defending him as a tyrant. I don't see Biden as a tyrant either. What I see is Biden is a manipulated puppet. That's what I see.
Absolutely.
Trump, I don't think you could manipulate Trump.
It's not even Trump. It's not the presidential office that scares me. That's my point is all of the other stuff that's happening, right? All of the other stuff that's going on that's going to cause the civil unrest. And this is what we was trying to talk about the other night, Jeff. Like, if you live in a comfort life where you depend on, obviously the healthcare system, but let's say you live on a bunch of social programs, or you really depend on all of the systems, so-called systems that take care of you in this country right now, and you can't fend for yourself, you're going to be in big trouble, because once they force this vaccine down you and they tell you you can't get on a plane, you can't go to a concert, you can't go to school, you can't
you might not be able to get a driver's license. Yeah,
you can't do this, you can't do that. Then what are you going to do? So what I'm trying to get people ready for is, like, if you want to protect your freedoms, then first you need to be aware of the whole picture, because I think the media has a lot of our focus on the presidential office for a reason. I'm not saying it's not important, but there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, man, with the UN. And it comes down to a basic thing, like I said before, and you nailed it too, Jeff. It's like, all you got to do is look at the drills the UN practices. That's what's coming.
Oh, yeah.
That's what's coming.
Well, and another thing they could pull too, and this is what's eerie, is there also, since you mentioned the UN, I've heard rumors that they're preparing for a potential power grid outage or a EMP pulse or something that takes out our grid and our technical grid. If that happens, I mean, you lose power, you won't be able to pump gas. You won't have food in this country. So these kinds of things, this is what we're dealing with, is people who are willing to do anything, and I mean anything, to get power and control.
Exactly.
Again, I'm not here to defend Trump, but when I look at his chart, I don't believe that he would do that. Now, a lot of people, he's a Trump supporter. No, I'm just looking at the astrology. Hillary Clinton scares the heck out of me when I look at her chart. And it fits her to the T.
Brother. Even the people that support her, she scares them.
Yeah, you ought to see the yogas in that chart. Biden, I think he's just what he's doing. I think he's a transitional guy that's probably going to hand it off to, again, Harris, if he ever got in. I don't think he's going to get in. I could be wrong, but I'll tell you what. My left brain says, geez, Jeff, this is going to be really tough. But the astrology says, and my right brain goes, no, I think this is right. And again, I've been called, all kinds of things for saying this, but I think when it's all said and done, this election's not over. And we're going to see him come back in a way that's going to be very disruptive, but it's going to be disruptive no matter what. If Biden gets in, you're going to have half this country so polarized and angry, and it could really be almost like a civil war.
Yeah, I think
if
either
Trump
way,
gets in, either way, it's insane for the next 2 years. But if Trump gets in, you're going to probably see the Antifa and the disgruntled folks be put out quicker than you will the old Americans who got a lot of ammo and a lot of guns. And everybody I have heard from has said, we will not take communism. We will not take
it won't. That I do believe in this
socialism.
country, that we won't allow that to, I mean, we'll probably allow it to the form to where it's already too late. We're like, oh, hey, this is communism. Like, if you don't see that already, though, then I think there's something wrong, but they're definitely trying to push that in here. But here's the thing.
We're right around the corner from
there's no doubt about it. But here's the thing. This drama, these energies are coming regardless. So I would say this, like, if you want to fly on a plane, go to a restaurant, or do anything, at least for the next few months, I'd say do it now. That's what I'd say, because we're about to, I don't know, what are you thinking? Late December, late December? Probably.
Well, I was telling you that the governor of California wants to make it a terrorist act for not wearing a mask.
That's insane, man.
That's what they're talking about. And it will destroy, if we get into another major lockdown. We've already lost, in New York, I've heard from clients that literally a third of the businesses or more will never open again. They're history. They're gone. Same thing here. I drive here, every restaurant right now, you can't even go in it. Only thing you can do is take takeout. And Newsom's thinking about actually shutting it down completely now.
I'm not staying in. For any of you guys that I know, we got more new listeners in New York than we've ever had. But I got to tell you guys, I'm not staying here. I don't care what happens. I'm not staying in New York. You're going to stay in Cali though, ain't you, Jeff? You love it out there. You got
in 1917, 50 million people plus, and they actually guesstimated might have been twice as much died from that pandemic in 1917.
Oh man.
The numbers on this one are nowhere near that. Nowhere near that. And I'm not minimizing it, but I'm just saying what I'm hearing from people running hospitals. These aren't just doctors, they're people running hospitals. So I'm blessed to have a lot of clients that I hear from, and they're telling me they can't say anything because this is from a top-down perspective, that the numbers do not match what the media is reporting. And the testing, it's like Pavlov's dogs. They have perfectly programmed everyone into so much fear-mongering.
Yeah.
And they don't want to shut it down. They want to increase the fear.
Right, because they got you in their grip. They got you in the grip right now. This is what they wanted for sure. And you have to think, right? If the UN wants to, if they want a global dollar, if they want more globalization when it comes to the economy, to controlling the economies, to controlling power and trade, things like that. That's what it's all about. They're starting a war is one way to do it, but that's not really going to help anybody. But if you inflict fear onto people, regardless, you psychologically trap them, and then we respond to it. And all you got to do is start guilt tripping them, and they have us where they want us. That's all there is. Right now, they have us where they want us. It's kind of like when the weasels sneaking in the back door. They're already in the back door. You know, they're coming down the hallway. We're past the point of, I think, Jeff, is like, hey, maybe we should stop this before it happens. It's already on its way. You know, like it's already here. That's what I think.
Well, I think once we get into the dust settling this spring with this whole presidential election,
we're going to know, huh?
Well, I think things are going to start to settle down. And I see, the next couple of years, very powerful, a lot of stuff going on, but long term, I see it being pretty good. I think the dust starts to settle. Good. By the way, exactly 20 years ago, if everyone remembers, what did we have? We had George W. Bush and Al Gore. Remember Al Gore, president-elect? He was picking his cabinet. Everybody said there's no way Bush is going to win. Sorry, Gore's in. What happened? Bush won. See? So, and that was on a Saturn-Jupiter conjunction. But unlike this one, it wasn't with the polarization of the country. It wasn't with a global pandemic like the Saturn-Pluto conjunction brought in, nor did we have the United States receiving a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction on its Pluto, and then the Pluto return coming in over the next couple of years, as well as the Neptune opposition. In Nadi astrology, which is really fascinating on the U.S. Sibley chart, there is some powerful, powerful energies coming in, because not only is Saturn transiting as Pluto, it's also transiting the South Node, which is known as Ketu. Saturn is structures. Ketu is liberations of karma and structure. That's why, because of this combination, I see an exceedingly powerful. And the North Node in transit is also aspecting by what we call a Nadi trine, an Earth trine, to the United States Saturn. Plain English, I really see this as a time of profound shakeup and change. And I really think by the time it's all done, we're going to be better for it. It's just going to, again, it's going to be bumpy. It's going to be a bumpy ride getting there, but I think we're going to get there.
Well, you know what?
If we lose this Constitution, if we lose America for what it stands, if we lose all the things that this amazing Constitution stands for, it will be a sad time in human history. It really will.
Well,
I think we're going to find there are communistic forces behind this that are about to be revealed.
Yeah, well,
treasonous acts against this country. I really don't think, again, I'm not here to defend Trump, but everything I can see in the interrogations, I don't think he's out to be emperor forever. China has an emperor forever, but I don't think he's out to be that.
Right.
What I'm worried about is the dystopiocrats literally they've sold this country out. They've sold it out lock, stock, and barrel.
Well, listen, Jeff, I got to roll. I got to get out of here, brother. So,
yeah.
Can you tell this has been a fantastic show, but please tell everybody how to get you, like where to find you on social media. Anything I missed besides your website, y'all gonna have to take
I've been staying off
this,
social media. I've been staying off social media. I've been doing radio. So you're the first show I've done. I'll probably get all kinds of heat on this. Every show I've done, they're either knocked off the internet or they're, knocked off Facebook. I mean, the censorship has been just colossal. That's why I've laid low this year. So the best way to get a hold of me is Jeff at jeffharman.com. It's JEFFHARMAN.com. Jeff at jeffharman.com. And it's always the best to email in, because then that way my wife helps me, and it's really a great team we have here to do that. But the readings are wonderful because I do them on Zoom, and I send people the videos, and they literally can just look over my shoulder and see their location, astrology, and cycles. I have so many people calling me right now about where to move. I mean, people are really, this is probably one of the most, I think, intense times I've seen in many, many years. This is really at a crescendo time right now. A lot of people are feeling the pressure, and they're moving, and it's an intense time.
It's definitely an intense time, and this was definitely an intense show. I knew it was going to be that way. Thanks, Jeff, for coming on the broadcast. You guys will be back tomorrow night. JeffHarman.com, JEFFHARMAN.com. Thanks, Pacho. Thanks to the patrons, all you guys in chat, the callers. See you guys tomorrow night. Good night.
Thanks, Joe.